What's up, guys? Welcome back to Toon Room. Today we're doing another Toon matchup. That's right. We're going to be discussing who the superior evil genius is. Dr. Doof from Phineas and Ferb or Plankton from SpongeBob. But if you like these kind of videos, please hit that thumbs up button. Please subscribe and make sure you tune in for all the fun stuff we have going on. Now, hopping right into it. We're going to be comparing the intellect of Dr. D and Plankton. Now, this is an interesting matchup of two mad scientist type characters, both with their own quirks and approaches to villainy. They have their own goals. They're kind of, how should I say, wacky mad scientists with a knack for robotics and gadgets, yet they have very specific goals to take over the tri-state area and seal the Krabby Patty secret formula, respectively. First, let's break down their unique strengths and weaknesses. First up, we have Dr. Doof. Now, in terms of intelligence, Doof is highly intelligent as an inventor with a passion for creating bizarre gadgets and machines. He loves his innators, often with convoluted and over-the-top goals. He's capable of inventing advanced tech such as mind control devices, giant robots, and laser guns. However, his inventions are frequently poorly designed and go awry due to his lack of attention to detail or his overly complicated plans. Doof can be very smart, but simply replacing batteries or plugging things in seem to be too much of a hassle for him. So he is kind of his own worst enemy in that he's a little lazy when it comes to something simple. He would rather blow up a building than move his TV a few inches. So that kind of tells you all you need to know about him. Personality. While Doof is smart, his intelligence is often undermined by his self-sabotaging nature. He is more of a comedic, inept villain whose plans rarely work out in his favor. His emotional backstory and tendency to over-explain his evil schemes make him a less competent threat, despite his intelligence. Key strengths. I would say his strengths are his inventiveness, creativity, and deep knowledge of science, while his weaknesses are lack of execution, emotional instability, and a penchant for making things more complicated than they need to be. And of course, he relies heavily on Perry the Platypus. He welcomes Perry. He comes in, telling him all his plans. He actually won't start his scheme until Perry shows up, while Plankton, he's not really the same way about SpongeBob or Mr. Krabs. He just wants a formula plain and simple. Plankton's a little more direct. Now, for the man himself, Plankton. In terms of intelligence, Plankton is a little more focused. He's highly intelligent, obsessed with stealing the Krabby Patty secret formula. I would say Plankton and Doof are both very obsessive. You know, their own hubris and pride gets in their way a little bit more, I would say, for Plankton than it does for Doof, but they just eat, sleep, and live wanting to accomplish their goal. Plankton's intelligence is often portrayed as more tactical and cunning than Dr. D's. Plankton's a brilliant manipulator, constantly coming up with clever, albeit unsuccessful, schemes to achieve his goals. His inventions, though not as grandiose as Dr. D's, are usually a bit more practical and precise. Personality. Plankton is a much more straight-laced villain. He's not as comedically inept as Dr. D and usually has a clearer, more consistent goal, getting the secret formula. While his plans often fail, it's usually because of outside interference, SpongeBob, or his own arrogance, rather than a fundamental flaw in his intelligence or approach. We've seen that Karen on her own, his computer wife, is quite capable, yet Plankton, his ego and hubris is kind of his own greatest enemy. Key strengths. Plankton has tactical brilliance, strategic thinking, and a keen sense of resourcefulness. I'd also say some of Plankton's schemes either use SpongeBob or Patrick, someone as an unwitting pawn. He's a good manipulator, whereas Dr. D, he doesn't really think like that. Plankton's more of a criminal mastermind rather than a straight up mad scientist. Plankton plays into the psychology a little bit. He even became a psychologist in Fear of a Krabby Patty when he tried to manipulate SpongeBob that way. Now, for weaknesses. Plankton is very arrogant. His obsession with the Krabby Patty formula can be a weakness, and obviously his biggest weakness is being outmatched by larger forces. Plankton has a Napoleon complex. He's a very tiny guy, and if he was a lot bigger, then he would probably pose more of a threat. Hey, Nickelodeon, if you're listening to this would be a pretty cool episode idea pitch. Plankton somehow kidnaps Larry the Lobster and wants to body swap with him. If you had the mind of Plankton and a big strong body, that would be a much more formidable threat, and it would be easy to voice that episode because they have the same voice actor. Anyway, little sidebar there. Now, for the question, who is more intelligent? Well, Plankton is genuinely more intelligent in the traditional sense, in my humble opinion. His intelligence is more practical, focused, and strategic. He constantly devises clever schemes and demonstrates more control over his inventions and plans, even though they don't always work out. Dr. D, on the other hand, while he is also quite intelligent, he often lacks the focus and practicality that Plankton has. His schemes are more whimsical, and his failure to execute them properly is a recurring theme in his character. Dr. D almost fears success. He doesn't really want to succeed. He almost looks forward to Perry the Platypus foiling his plans, whereas Plankton, he does not enjoy Mr. Krabs throwing him across the street. He does not enjoy the chum bucket exploding or being stepped on by SpongeBob. He genuinely really wants to achieve his goal. And he does try and destroy Mr. Krabs in the movie. His intention is to sit there with popcorn while King Neptune obliterates Mr. Krabs. Whereas Dr. D, I genuinely don't think he would actually want to destroy Perry the Platypus because he is quite fond of Perry. He's his nemesis, but it's more of a friendly rivalry than Plankton feels about the Krusty Crew. So in conclusion, in terms of raw intelligence, Plankton probably wins out as he consistently demonstrates he's a bit sharper and more calculated. However, Dr. D may be more entertaining and creative out of the two. His intelligence is often more quirky, complex, and not as practical to achieve his goals. So what do you guys think of this one? They both are failed villains. They're both goofy villains, but out of the two, if they were to match up for some kind of competition, I'd say Plankton would probably beat out Dr. D, who just doesn't really take it quite as seriously. But if you enjoy this kind of content, please give this video a fat thumbs up, subscribe if you love Dr. D and Plankton, and don't forget to tune in next time.